The historical perspective of correction. A study of the changes that have occurred in our ideas of how to deal with offenders against the criminal law bring us into contact with one of the most fascinating and challenging aspects of social history, the history of punishment. It is by and large a sordid history, a record of our slow progress in finding effective means of reducing criminal by punishment, a record of much violence, brutality, torture, and indifference to human suffering, but also of charity, compassion, and honest search for method of correctional treatment that will salvage rather than destroy those who are its object. The history and the dates. In 13th century or the securing sanctuary, in 13th century, a criminal could avoid punishment by claiming refuge in a church for a period of 40 days. In 1576, England ordered that each country should construct an institution for a confinement of offender, which is popularly known as the English House of Correction of Bridgewell style House of Correction and Workhouse. In 16th century, transportation of a criminal in England was authorized until the end of the century. Russia and other European countries followed the system. This practice was abandoned in 1853. And in 18th century, known as the Age of Enlightenment, additional jails were constructed due to the decreasing opportunities for the transportation of the criminal to the other countries and the elimination of the needs of gallery slaves. The goals or the jail. The description given the pre-trial detention facilities operated by English sheriff in England during 18th century. Galleys. Long, low, narrow, single-deck ship propelled by sail, usually rowed by criminals, a type of ship used for transportation of criminals in the 16th century. The hawk, or the floating hell. These are the former warships used to house prisoners in the 18th and 19th century. The hawk was originally intended only as temporary solution to a problem, but they were not completely abandoned until 1858, 18 years later. Ordeal. In the church, substitute for a trial until the 13th century wherein guilt or innocence was determined by the ability of the accused of being injured through dangerous and the painful tests. Different kinds of ordeal. Ordeal by hot water, where the accused would reach into a pot of boiling water and retrieve an object. If the causes was innocent, the water would not burn their skin, but if they were guilty, then the burn would reveal their guilt. Order by hot iron, where the accused person would carry a burning hot iron so many paces without being burned to prove their innocence. Order by cold water, there the accused was dunked into a pool. If they were innocent, they would sink, and if they were guilty, they will float. And last, order by the sacrament, whereby an accused priest would be required to take the wafer of the communion. If they were guilty, the accused clergy member was expected to choke on the sacrament, and if innocent, they would swallow it without incident. The early codes. Babylonian and Sumerian codes, Code of King Hammurabi or Hammurabi Code. Babylon, credited as the oldest codes prescribing savage punishments around 1759 BC, but in fact, Sumerian code were nearly 100 years old. The main concept of Hammurabi Code is lex talionis, which means an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, in the imposition of punishment. King Ornamus Code decrees the imposition of restitution and fines of or execute mutilation or other savage penalty. Analyzing of the king Ornamus also carries a concept of restorative justice, thus re-establish the lost relationship between the involved parties in the crime that existed before the commission of crime. Roman and Greek codes. Justinian Code 529 AD. Emperor Justinian of Rome wrote his Code of Law. This code was a revision of the 12 Tables of Roman. However, the law did not survive due to the fall of the Roman Empire, but left a foundation of Western legal codes. The 12 Tables represented the earliest codification of Roman law incorporated into the Justinian Code. Greek Code of Draco. Greece, a harsh code that provides the same punishment for both citizen and the slave as it incorporate primitive concept. The Greek were the first to allow any citizen to prosecute the offender in the name of the injurious party. Burgundian Code or 500 AD. These codes introduced the concept of restitution. These codes specified punishment according to the social class of offender, dividing them into nobles, middle class, and the lower class, and specifying values of the life of each person according to social status. 509 BC. A law was passed prohibiting flogging or execution unless affirmed by the Curates Assembly. Curates Assembly was the principal legislative assembly during the era of the Roman Kingdom. While its primary purpose was to elect new king, it is possessed rudimentary legislative power. And the last, the two rival prison. The Aubon prison system, also known as the congregate system. The prisoners are confined in their own cell during the night and congregate work in the shop during the day. Complete silence was informed. The Pennsylvanian prison system, also known as the solitary system. Prisoners are confined in single cell day and night where they lived, slept, ate, and received religious instructions. Complete silence was also required. Prisoners are required to read the Bible. Thank you.